Welcome to U.S. Immigration TV. Well, according to several news reports, including Associated Press, and I quote, immigration officials say anyone living in the U.S. illegally will soon have to register with the federal government. And those who don't could face fines, imprisonment, or both. Now, the registry will be mandatory for everyone 14 years of age and older who doesn't have legal status. Each person must register and provide their fingerprints and address. Now, I know this latest announcement is striking fear and anxiety in the hearts of everyone in the U.S. who is out of status or tago na tago, including their family members. They're being told they must register, of course, by providing fingerprints and their address, but now they're afraid that DHS will come to their house, hunt them down, take them into custody, and deport them. Well, in this video, I will discuss this alien registration requirement, including who is required to register, but more importantly, who is not required to register. Believe it or not, maybe you don't have the requirement to register. Maybe you already registered. Well, a little bit of background. First, the requirement that an alien register and be fingerprinted has been on the books since at least 1952, and that's Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 262. Well, that law required that any alien over 14 years of age who was in the U.S. for at least 30 days should register and be fingerprinted. Therefore, this law has been on the books for decades. It's just probably that so many administrations before Trump had not really required compliance, or they weren't just enforcing the law. But of course, Trump, with his strict immigration enforcement policies, is now requiring aliens, all aliens, to register and be fingerprinted. But to everyone watching, I really want to say I don't want you to lose hope or despair, because even according to USCIS's website, they acknowledge that, and I quote, most aliens in the United States have already registered as required by law. In fact, unless you snuck across the border, it's highly likely that you have already complied with these requirements and therefore do not have to register again. Okay, so let's go through it. Who has already registered? Well, according to the USCIS, the following people are considered to have already registered and complied with the law: lawful permanent residents or green card holders, aliens admitted to the U.S. as non-immigrants and were issued Form I-94 even if the period of admission has expired, meaning even if they are out of status. Now, this particular item is critical and should make everyone breathe a sigh of relief, because if you entered the U.S. on a non-immigrant visa, like a tourist visa, a student visa, work visa, any other kind of non-immigrant visa with a letter, and you're now out of status, you have complied. Why? The reason is that when you originally applied for your non-immigrant visa at the U.S. Embassy, you were fingerprinted, right? Remember, you were fingerprinted. Therefore, you already complied. Other people who have already complied with this registration requirement are aliens who were paroled into the U.S. Another one is aliens present in the U.S. who were issued immigrant or non-immigrant visas prior to arrival. Another one is aliens placed in removal proceedings. Aliens issued an employment authorization document, a work permit. This is because it's likely that in order for you to apply for a work permit, you have to first go and get fingerprinted. Another category of aliens who complied with the registration requirement would be aliens applying for adjustment of status even if that application was denied. Again, it is because you are likely fingerprinted in connection with filing that application. Now let's move on to who is not registered already and who now has to register and be fingerprinted. Well, according to the USCIS's website, The following aliens are required to register and be fingerprinted. The first one is, and I quote, aliens who are present in the United States without inspection and admission or inspection and parole, unquote. So this primarily applies to aliens who snuck across the border or entered the U.S. without inspection. And really, this does make sense because it's likely that if they snuck across the border, they were never fingerprinted when they crossed the border. And of course, this also means that if you happen to have snuck across the border and you did not enter on a visa, in that case, you may be required to register. And I think what's going on here is that Trump has always been talking about our open southern border, how people were pouring across. We don't know who they are. They're not vetted. And so now he's putting in this requirement that all of them have to now come forward, get fingerprinted, and give their address. Others who are required to register are Canadians who crossed the border and were not issued evidence of registration. That's because Canadians, because they're so close to the U.S., they were able to pass back and forth, typically with no inspection or requirements. So now they're saying Canadians must do that. Others may be DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA applicants who were not issued evidence of registration. So those are the typical people who now must get fingerprinted and registered. Okay, so what do we do moving forward? So once an alien who's required to register, they have already registered and they've appeared for their fingerprinting, DHS will issue some form of evidence or proof of your registration, which you have to carry on you or keep in your possession at all times. Failure to comply will result in criminal and civil penalties, including prosecution and payment of fines, and of course, likely, I would say, be placed in deportation and or removal. So DHS will develop a form and process for people to complete the registration process. I would say in the meantime, based on DHS's initial press release, I would strongly recommend that if you are out of status, but you're not required to register because you already did, you should carry proof or evidence of your having already registered. This could be a copy of your entry visa or a copy of your I-94, even if it is expired, but that's the evidence of compliance with registration. Maybe you have an old expired work permit or any other document that I've already mentioned to prove registration. And you may even want to take a picture with your cell phone so you have that as well as a record. And I would also say that if you're still nervous, if you're still concerned, if you're still traumatized, or if you have any other questions or fears, you may want to consider consulting with an immigration attorney. Now, for my part, I will continue monitoring these changes and developments in law and keeping you informed through this channel. So therefore, please make sure if you like the video, hit the like button. If you think somebody else can benefit from this video, share it with them. And most importantly, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Right now, just go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'm Michael Gurfinkel, and thank you for watching U.S. Immigration TV.